Alright, everybody, welcome back to yet another Winter Storm video. This time it is going to be Winter Storm Iliana as it makes its way through New England and the rest of the northeast of the United States. So, if you're seeing this, you probably are just coming from the Harlow video, which I am currently working on the assets for on my stronger computer here. Thumbnail is done, I gotta edit the video together now. Harlow was a surprise hitter, as it came out of nowhere and just started dumping additional snow here in southern New England. I don't think it made its way up to my hometown, but it did affect Rhode Island and Connecticut. That is what I know. And it was an extra inch of snow that we weren't really calling for. But now we have Winter Storm Iliana making its way in. Currently we're looking at, I'm on the wrong location, but ignore that, this is weather.com. I'll show you what we're looking at here specifically later. But the weather.com website has a much better radar. It actually shows the difference between types of precipitation, and it goes out for longer with better resolution. So you can see there we are going to be getting front end snow. It's already beginning to move in actually, and then we're going to be seeing mixing and rain later on, which is going to be, as we get into the morning hours. Overnight, it's going to be the front end snow, but then we get into the morning hours, and that's when we're going to be getting that mixing and the rain. So what can we expect from Iliana? Let me take a look at the weather app here, and what we are seeing right now is 32 degrees, cloudy, and I'm getting notifications up my... I'm not going to say it. I'm getting notifications left and right here. And we have snow forecasted. Snow is expected to start very soon. Precipitation intensity won't be very intense. It's going to be pretty light for the time being. So hopefully we don't get too much, because there's already plenty of snow on the ground from 2 winter storms now, back to back. Now we're getting a third one. Well, technically we've had 3 back-to-back winter storms so far, but Winter Storm Freya, most of that snow was gone by the end of the system because it did the same thing Iliana's about to do, and it changed over to rain on the back end. So most of that snow accumulation was eradicated pretty much as soon as it had come, so... yeah, we're looking at a very similar case here, and the snow is expected to start very, very soon. I picked the right time to start recording. The current radar on the weather app here says that it's moving its way in here. We've got some very sporadic areas of snow showers. And, let's see. 1.2 inches expected. That's not going to be all snow, obviously. A lot of that's going to be into rain, so, let's go ahead and open this up here. We can see what we're dealing with. So, snow... here, and that's going to be going through 1 a.m. and then it's going to be changing over the rain, and the rain should be out of here by the afternoon. And it will also warm up quite a bit because it's going to be driving a warm front through the region since we are on the eastern side of the storm this time. Whereas we were, for Harlow and Garnett, on the northern side of the storm. And for Freya, we were also pretty much on the eastern side. I think Freya actually went right through New England. This time, Iliana is going to be to our west for the most part. So we're getting front-end snow before the warm front hits. But then once that warm front punches through, it's going to be rain. And in terms of precipitation, that is from Harlow, as you can see right here all the way on the left. And then we've got 0.15, 0.15... 0.2 and 0.25, so it's going to be not even an inch this time, and the rest of that 1.5 inches of precipitation is going to be in the form of rain, and that can definitely help to melt away all the snow that we have on the ground right now. There is quite a bit of it. As for the wind, we are going to be getting some winds with this one. Not very strong though, it's going to be pretty weak, getting double digits in mile per hour sustained at least, and we're getting gusts into the 20s and 30s. That's not too bad, but it is a little bit more than we've had with the previous storms. And then tomorrow The winds are going to be a little bit stronger as we get the cold air on the back side of it. It won't be extremely cold, but it's going to be relatively cold, you know, compared to what we're dealing with tomorrow. 47 degrees. And that's going to be cooling down quite a bit on the back side of it. But believe it or not, far from over here, because we've got far worse threats on the way, such as Winter Storm Jet. Winter Storm Jet is going to be impacting over President's Day weekend, and, well, it starts out quite cold, and we get a fair bit more in terms of front-end snow, as you can see. This is quite a bit, saying 1.3 inches. Then we will shift over to rain on the back side of the storm, which will be occurring for almost the entire day Sunday. And we've got snow for the late afternoon and evening hours on Saturday. So, yeah, it's a massive system. It's going to be impacting quite a few regions in various ways. And it will have a more significant wind threat by a little bit compared to Iliana that's moving in right now. But the real concern here is we're getting a crazy Arctic blast following Winter Storm Jet. And there's going to be a lot more rainfall with Jet, and with this Arctic blast coming through so potently, that will all freeze, and it's going to pose some very major concerns, especially if some areas also get freezing rain and snow during the storm. This is just going to add insult to injury, or maybe even injury to injury, because not only it's going to be very cold, but the winds also actually pick up on Monday. 20 mile an hour sustained winds and 40 mile an hour gusts. That's going to be pretty bad in terms of wind chills. As you can see here, if I go to feels like, we're getting wind chills as low as -3 by night. And the actual temperature is going to be like way higher than that. So wind chills are going to be a pretty big concern on the backside of the storm. And even more of a concern is everything freezing over, which is going to potentially cause major damage. So kind of a concerning system that's on the way for the weekend, but right now we are going to be focusing on Winter Storm Iliana, because that is the one that's moving in at the moment. This will officially be Winter Storm number 4 of the Feb25 chain, and the previous winter storms of the chain so far, I've made some pretty long videos on, except for Freya, because that one was kind of disappointing. But Garnet was over an hour. I have a little over 30 minutes worth of footage for Harlow, even though that was a surprise one. I'm going to be trying to keep this one a bit shorter, because, well, I don't think Iliana is going to be that interesting. It's just going to be some front-end snow and then rain on the back side of things. So really, this is going to be the longest part of the video, where I'm explaining everything away, saying what's going to happen in the near future, looking at the forecast and everything. And of course, we also may have a concern, according to at least one weather model for Winter Storm Kingston coming up to New England. The intensity has actually dropped on that one. It was originally forecasted to be a 970s low pressure system, but now it's gone back up into, on one model, a low pressure not even showing up. That would be the European model, which has a lot further to the south and very much more exclusive. Don't know if that's going to end up being what happens. Like, you know, that's a solution where it completely fizzles out. And then the other model, the GFS, that one is saying that it's still going to move up here through New England, but it's going to be significantly weaker than originally forecasted. Something like maybe upper 980s at best. So that one, the concern has dropped. But there's another system after that that is beyond the range of what this app can forecast that we have to watch, because both models show that system showing up. The intensities are kind of pretty different, because one model has it, once again, not very intense, and the other model actually has it at a very similar intensity to Winter Storm Nemo, which, if anybody remembers from 2013, that was that crazy massive blizzard that dumped 30 plus inches of snow in parts of Rhode Island and Massachusetts, and I think also Connecticut, and had hurricane force winds and caused hundreds of thousands of power outages, and ended up getting retired from the winter storm naming list. That's kind of crazy. So, yeah, if that ends up panning out, which is going to be actually pretty far out from now, so easily could change, but if that does happen, then things are going to get pretty serious. But right now, we are looking at Winter Storm Iliana, and yeah. Now, in terms of what there is to see outside, so far, nothing hasn't really started yet, even though it says that it's about to. I'm not seeing anything out there right now, but it is also important to note, for some reason there was like this kind of drizzle, very, very light flurry throughout the day. I don't know if it was just because of clouds being in the sky. I don't know if that was maybe some moisture coming off of the ocean or what, but there was this very faint drizzle throughout the day today. I don't really have an explanation for that, but figure it's worth noting, because it is in front of another winter storm. However, there is nothing to report right now, so I'm not going to be dragging this video on very long. Okay. Allegedly, it is now snowing. Let's go verify that. Yeah, I can see it. It's snowing. It's definitely snowing. The flakes are pretty small, though. I don't think we're going to be getting a whole ton of snow here. And in all fairness, that's not what the weather's calling for either. It's calling for a pretty negligible amount, especially in comparison to what we still have on the ground from the previous two storms. Let me zoom out a bit so you can see more of that. See just how much snow is still left over from Garnet and Harlow now. So, whatever snow we're getting from Iliana is not going to make a difference in the slightest. Because it's supposedly going to be less than, maybe even less than half an inch. I don't actually remember or know at this point the specifics. What matters is right now it is snowing a little bit, and there will be rain moving in after the snow when the warm front punches through, which means any of the snow that does fall is going to be melted away. And to an extent, probably we're also going to be losing the snow that has been on the ground from the previous systems. We're going to wait and see what happens, but this is what's going on right now. Well, that's charging quite quickly. I plugged it in like 2 minutes ago. It's already up from 54% to 68%. EcoFlow does some really quick charging, apparently. Anyways, I got the correct location here now. Snow shower. I don't like the pinks that we're seeing here, because that indicates freezing rain. Freezing rain can be very problematic. Hopefully we don't get too much of that, because if we do, that definitely can lead to some power outages. But in the event that does end up happening, I am taking precautions, charging up my EcoFlow. Well, I gotta charge that one too, but also at the same time, it still has a higher battery percentage. It's at 71 right now, just sitting here. Still got plenty of charge left in it, but I'm gonna go ahead and refuel this one, or recharge this one. Anyways, it's better to not get refuel and recharge confused, because these are power stations, not generators. I've seen it a lot where people would use the terms interchangeably, and that just isn't how it's supposed to be. Power stations are battery banks, essentially. They're like giant battery banks with inverters, and they can recharge from clean sources of power, like the sun, for example. And I might even try and sometime in the future experiment with charging the Delta 3 Plus with a wind turbine. The lowest rated options for wind turbines are 400 watts, so I could use one of the XT60 ports on my Delta 3 Plus if I want to experiment with that in the future. But yeah, these can recharge from renewable energy sources, and they are also a lot less noisy compared to generators. Unless the fan is running. The fan, you know, it generates a little bit of noise, but still nowhere near as loud as a generator would be. And of course, no fumes. These do not emit anything when being used. Obviously, we do have to consider that it's not completely clean with batteries and stuff, you know. Just the other day I watched a Jordan U video where he had this big trip to Home Depot on an electronic bike, and he corrected me on the fact that batteries are completely clean, which, well, of course they're not. There are emissions when they're being manufactured, of course, and they can be charged off of impure power as well. So they are not perfect. They are still a lot better than anything gasoline or coal-fired or anything of that sort, though. Anything that uses a sort of fuel to operate. Because this is pure electricity, and there is the option to get that electricity from renewable sources. It's just that some people probably are not going to be doing that, and that's why batteries are not completely clean. Plus, you know, there are emissions from manufacturing them as well, so that's going to cause some emissions into the environment, but over time, using electricity generally is much better, like battery storage compared to an engine. Because the act of actually using it from an EcoFlow like this means you're not going to be putting any fumes into the environment, and by extension, if you're using them indoors, your own home. So, yeah. And, of course, it's infinitely better if you're going to be recharging it from renewable sources. But that's just my little rant on that. Back to the important factor at hand here, the fact that we are going to be seeing potential freezing rain with this system. Let's go ahead and check outside once again while this is charging up. I gotta be careful not to trip on the cord here. Once my River 2 Max finishes charging, I will swap it for the Delta 3 Plus. Yeah, snow is still falling. It definitely is worth mentioning, it actually is above freezing out right now. So I don't think unless it's anywhere that there's already plenty of snow, that the snow is actually going to stick anywhere. You can see the roads there. The road is just wet. It's not snowy at all. There's no snow on that. So that's good. We don't actually have to do any clearing of roads and walkways, because it's too warm for the snow to accumulate on any surfaces that are either treated or don't have snow on them to begin with. So I don't think we'll be getting some serious impacts from this storm unless the freezing rain does a number, but I can't speak for that right now. We gotta wait and see what happens. Alright, looks like my River 2 Max has completed charging. So I'm gonna go ahead now and move this over to the Delta 3 Plus, which is gonna take a bit more current to charge, so hopefully I don't pop the fuse in this cord, because the Delta 3 Plus did come with a charging cord that is rated for a slightly higher current. This one is rated for 13 amps, the other one's rated for 15 amps. I did set it to charge at only 800 watts instead of its maximum of 1500, but definitely worth mentioning, it does pull more power to charge. But that can be changed. Obviously, you can have it go from anywhere from 100 watts to all the way up to 1500. I have it at 800, so I'm not overloading the circuit it's charging off of. So that's now charging. And the fans on my River 2 Max are pretty noisy, but this thing here is nearly silent, even when it is charging at a very high current or outputting a lot of power. The fans have been very well designed on the Delta 3 Plus, so it's effectively silent. So that's now charging, and I'll have both of my EcoFlows charged in the event that anything serious happens. As of right now, though, nothing really interesting is going on, but I will update you if something interesting does happen. Would you look at that? Well, first of all, it's still snowing. a little bit. It is pretty light and looks like it might be starting to mix over a little bit. But the more interesting thing is we actually have a trace on the ground where there wasn't snow before. Which I didn't really think that was going to happen because it's a little too warm out for that. I guess maybe we must have had a heavier band or something. Let me check out this window. Yeah, there definitely is a bit of a trace. Not much, but somehow a little bit of a trace on the ground. That obviously is going to go away really quickly once we start mixing over and transition to rain when the warm front moves through, but that's kind of interesting. Apparently we are getting slightly accumulated snow here, but really just a dusting. That's about it. I will also be keeping tabs on poweroutage.us to see what is going on, because there isn't a 0% chance of power outages. There definitely is a chance if we're going to have some wind and some freezing rain. And I came to this site. Virginia is red with 151,000 outages. Very dense amount of outages in southwestern Virginia especially. Must have been from Winter Storm Harlow. But that, I don't believe, has anything to do with Winter Storm Iliana, which is also causing some thunderstorms in Mississippi at the moment. So, yeah, Mississippi and Alabama, they're both getting a little bit of activity down there with thunderstorms on the tail. But nothing here yet. But I will be watching, just so you know. Alright, I got the radar up here just so we can see when the onset of the all the heavier precipitation and the mixing is going to be, and it looks like it's not going to be until like 4, 5, 6, 7 a.m. So basically, this is all going to be happening while I'm asleep. But if something ends up happening that wakes me up, I will pick up the camera and record it, obviously. Because, yeah, it looks like the onset of some more major precipitation is making its way up. And yes, there will be a little bit of wind with this, but this level of mixing, once the radar shows it again, that's a lot of mixed precipitation, and probably will be in the form of freezing rain. Based on the rain-snow line there. I don't actually really know, but it seems to me like that's going to be freezing rain. That is not good. No changes really to report on poweroutage.us. It still looks the same. New England is still basically 0 outages. There's just a few in Massachusetts, probably residual rolling outages or something like that, but that's it. Oh, good morning. It's 8:52 in the morning. I am about to head to a class, but I figured I would check this first, and we do have some changes to report. Virginia's count has gone up. That's not good. And just about every New England state is now above 0. The only one that isn't is Maine, because that's the only state that hasn't really been hit so far. But we now have 1,900 out in Massachusetts. I think it's mostly western Massachusetts, if I'm not wrong. No, it's not. It's Barnstable County, that's interesting. We also have 50 in Rhode Island. And most of those are down here. Huh. Alright, well, that is what seems to be going on. In the meantime, what we're looking at outside, 39 degrees haze. And definitely continued rain throughout the afternoon. Stopping in the afternoon, actually. But yeah, we've got haze right now. And now Winter Storm Kingston is showing up again in the forecast. I kind of knew that was going to happen, but thankfully it's not showing up as intense as it did a few days ago. And this is what we're looking at outside. Can't really tell if it's actually raining right now, but there's still plenty of snow on the ground. It doesn't look like the rain has done its job melting it all yet. Of course, it's probably not going to melt all of it, but it is melting some of it. Alright, so it looks like yet again, just like Freya, Iliana is not really delivering all that much. It has barely been raining. Like, just about a drizzle and that's it. So, I can kind of see the drizzle is still ongoing, but we still have plenty of snow on the ground outside. It's not really melting the snow away, even though it's like 40-something degrees at this point. And of course it's drizzling, and there's a nearby tree there. Hopefully you can see the, there are some water droplets off in the branches. But really, it has not been doing its due diligence melting any of the snow. And it's just been a very light drizzle to a haze outside, if anything. It's really all it's been since the snow from last night, which was also relatively light, and amounted to a trace before that melted. So, kind of an underwhelming storm system. Haven't even really seen all that much wind out of it. I did hear a little bit of howling last night through my window, but it seems like the wind is for the most part gone at this point. This is a very underwhelming storm system. And in terms of power outages across New England, really nothing special. I still have poweroutage.us open on my computer, so I can just check back up on that. Poweroutage.us. Move that here. You can see that. A little reflective glare from my window. Let me re-angle. I'll go ahead and refresh to get the latest data. And you can see it's still all blue. We now have over 1,800 out in Maine. So yeah, that's more of a recent development because the storm is now moved far enough up that it is impacting Maine. New Hampshire is still very low. Vermont also still very low. Massachusetts still just over 1,000, but they're no longer in Barnstable County. Rhode Island is back down to nothing, and Connecticut is 246. But now Massachusetts, it was in Essex County earlier, but you can see some in Suffolk County. We now have a few in Plymouth County as well, but yeah, Barnstable County went down from like 1,000 people out to only a few hundred. And it looks like we've also got more outages happening in Western Mass now, where all the mixed precipitation's occurring, or at least has occurred earlier. I don't know if it's still happening. But yeah, not really much to report here. It's been pretty underwhelming. In terms of what the weather is saying right now, we've got 42 degrees and just a drizzle. Light rain stopping very soon, because we are getting to the afternoon hours where it's expected to wrap up here. And it will continue to get a little bit warmer as haze lingers. This is also going to be indicative of very high humidity levels. And just as I thought, 90% relative humidity, dew point of 39. Probably even going to go higher later today. Yeah, it is. Getting up to 42-degree dew point there. And the wind, yeah. There was a little bit of wind last night, and I was able to hear that through my window, and it of course has died down by now. That of course is probably due to the fact that it is changing direction. As you can see, it's going to be, instead of out of the east, now out of the west. After this direction change occurs. That's probably why the wind has died down. And 1.35 inches in the last 24 hours. This is in total, including the rain and the snow. Definitely more snow than rain, which is not what I was really expecting. I was expecting it to be about an equal amount of each. But we certainly ended up with more front-end snow than we got back-end rain. It's been raining very, very lightly. And then it's going to be cooling down for tomorrow, but shouldn't be much of a concern because I don't think we're going to be really getting that much of a hard freeze, considering there's not that much rain that fell, so it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing any severe impacts here. It's underwhelming storm system. But then we have Winter Storm Jet over President's Day weekend, and this is the one that is concerning. Because we get a great deal more in terms of front-end snow, as you can see there. And also a lot more in terms of rain as well. And the winds definitely will be stronger. It's not showing up here for some reason anymore, although I know what is going to happen. And then Monday, the day after everything moves out, we have that potent Arctic blast that moves in, and the wind really picks up. And temperatures will be falling like crazy, and it's going to be cold for the next few days after that. And Winter Storm Kingston is back on the forecast. We do have the wind in play again, just not as strong as it was with that preliminary forecast. And the snow is also back in play, but once again, a little bit less so. But this is also not showing all of the snow that's going to fall, so we gotta wait and see what happens. But, yep, forecasts are going to be changing around, and that is just how the weather works. When the forecasts are far out, they will be changing around until we can get a more solid grasp on what's actually going to happen. As for Iliana, though, I'm going to wrap the video up here, because really not much interesting is happening. It's been a bust of a storm. Just a trace of snow last night, and then just drizzle all day today. That's about the gist of it. Really hasn't done anything major. So, yeah, I'd rather not continue to document what I would say is a negligible event. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Probably wasn't very interesting because this was an underwhelming storm, but I will see you for Winter Storm Jet, because that one definitely is going to be major. It's going to be a multi-day storm, followed by a very potent Arctic blast with pretty strong winds on the backside of it. It's going to be a pretty wild one. So I'll see you in that video. Thank you for watching, and that's all I got for right now.